The Northern Nevada real estate market and what has happened in 2024, what is currently happening right now at the time we're shooting this video, and what I'm predicting and what the experts are predicting for 2025. The Northern Nevada real estate market this year has been all over the place. It's been very challenging. And what we thought was going to happen, and the predictions that interest rates might even go below 6% before the end of the year, that didn't happen. And would there be more homes on the market and would things become more affordable? It's just been all over the place. So what today we're going to do is we're going to talk about what has actually happened this year, where we are right now in our current real estate market, and what we think is going to happen moving forward. With 2025 on the horizon, we're going to see, will the market rebound, and what does that even mean? Are there any further corrections in pricing, in inventory, or is something entirely unprecedented going to happen? The answers can redefine what your wealth building opportunities for Northern Nevada for years to come might be. I brought Sydney back on today. You guys are starting to see her face more regularly on the channel because she's the one out actually driving most of our buyers around and showing them properties. I know starting at the beginning of the year, the first quarter especially, the market was really quiet. It was really slow. And why was that the case? Because everybody was waiting for those interest rates that had crept all the way up to 8% to come down and come down. And so it started off the year really slowly. Rates did eventually come down.
They did.
And we got into kind of these high sixes, low sevens. And then for a really short time, not that long ago, we crept all the way into the low sixes and people were starting to get excited about real estate. But the year started off slow. Quarters 2, 3, and 4 have been, for at least our team, much better than most people's.
Yes.
And inventory. So you're the one out showing homes. And I know it's funny because I get this comment all the time. People saying, well, there seems like there's a lot more inventory on the market. And everyone doesn't realize that you need 6 months of inventory to have more of a buyer-seller market. And we have 2. Even though it feels like a lot more inventory because normally we only had 1 or half a month's inventory. When you're out trying to find homes for buyers, are you having plenty of stuff to choose from or homes that are sitting on the market for a long time?
Currently, we have a lot of homes sitting that have been on the market for a while. I just had out-of-state buyers in town and we actually ran out of real estate in terms of homes that they were interested in seeing and what was fitting their parameters. In the summertime, we had quite a bit of inventory going on, but homes were selling a lot faster during that time. So things are starting to slow down in terms of days on market. There's an extension there.
So when you were saying homes have been on the market a little longer, how long are you talking about?
I'm seeing anywhere between 60, 90, and even over 100, some even 150 days. So homes are taking a little longer.
So what that means is if you're a seller and you got a little excited, maybe overly aggressively high priced your home, and all of a sudden you're getting offers. My favorite things when it sells is we're getting a low ball offer. I'm like, if your house is listed for 600, you get an offer for 670. I'm sorry, 570. It's not a low ball offer.
No.
It's we're trying to play the game here. And now the skill of negotiating, the skill of putting deals together, those things have all come back. And what's funny is a lot of realtors that have only maybe been doing this 6 or 8 years used to be put a home on the market. We'll wait for the multiple offers to come in and we sell a house immediately. And I've had agents recently reach out to me and say, hey, Brian, what do I do? Got a house on the market for 60 days and they don't know what to do. And so that inventory thing has been a big deal. And I know a lot of the buyers were waiting for the interest rates to come down.
Yes.
Or the market to crash. And if interest rates come down, Sid, tell them what's going to happen to prices.
Prices are going to go up.
And as crazy as that sounds, because people think that the market is already unaffordable, if we are lacking inventory and interest rates go down and buyers now are able to qualify for some homes maybe they couldn't, I don't see how the market's going to crash or prices are going to get better. We did a video not that long ago. We were talking pre-election about, do we think whether one side or the other side won this election, would it greatly affect the real estate market? And what do you think?
I hear a lot of people saying that the real estate market is going to get better. Whether the election does that or not, I'm not quite sure yet, especially early on in 2025. But I have heard a lot of people saying that 2025 is going to be better than 2024. How that all pans out, I'm not quite sure yet, but I think it's going to breed a competitive market for sure.
So when you're talking about a better market, I really feel like the market is very segmented based upon age group.
Absolutely.
So we've had this conversation for many times. I have a stepmother who is going to be 82 years old soon, who bought her first real estate property in the 60s and 70s. Everyone who's kind of in that age group kind of gives me the same story about, hey, we sacrificed, we made these big commitments, we worked our asses off in order to buy these houses. And what they're not understanding is most of those people are already wealthy. They already own multiple real estate. And again, if you own real estate and the prices keep going up, it's great for me. For me, owning my house and my rental property and my commercial building, it's great for me. But for someone who's actually in real estate, who is 23 years old, trying to buy your first home, we had this discussion where your brother bought a home 5 years ago. If you tried to buy the exact same home, bought his home from him, your payment would be 3 times what his payment is because he got lucky on the timing. He bought for cheap. His rate is low 3%. And for you, that payment would be astronomical. So when people say, is the market going to get better, more affordable? It really is dependent as a single 23-year-old, you almost can't buy a house, and you know exactly how this real estate game works.
Correct.
So when I say the market's going to get better, a lot of that depends on who we're talking about and who we're talking with. In the current market right now, what's so funny is probably the 6 weeks before the election, what happened?
Radio silence.
The market got real silent. Not a lot of showings happening on, and even our listings at the time, we had 10 listings, and we were getting phone calls all the time about the market, what is going on? And I said to every single one of them, I said, you know what? Just got to wait till this election comes up. It'll stop and people will get back in the game because for whatever reason, people feel like this election is going to make them worry about, is the market going to get better or worse?
Right.
And so when we have these conversations with people or are all sellers, what we said to them is this: when the election ends, doesn't even really matter which side wins. People will just move on with their lives. And then what happened? Of those 10 homes, 8 of them got offers within the first 2 weeks after the election was over. 2 of those sellers, of course, didn't take those offers, and now they're wishing they did. Because again, in the current market with homes sitting on the market longer, you might think an offer is 5 or 10 or 15,000 less than you want, and really people should probably take it. So we're finally, for the first time in a long time, and it's great that you're going to see this at the beginning of your career, watching people being able to actually have some negotiations again, which they weren't having negotiations before. As an example, we're getting ready to list a house. It is right before Thanksgiving time. We're getting ready to do this. And for some people, they would think that's a horrible time to sell a home. But when we ran a market analysis, there was literally one home for sale that was in a similar price point, in a similar size, in a similar neighborhood. And again, this time of year, you're not going to get as many people looking at homes like you would in the summertime. Because again, I always tell people in the summer, you get some looky-loos.
For sure.
And some people that maybe, hey, if I could get X price for my house, I would sell it. But if you're selling at Thanksgiving or Christmas or in January when it's cold outside, this is serious sellers, serious buyers. And so the activity level slows down as far as you're not going to get 12 showings the first week. But if you get 3, that's all it takes. You just need that one person to really get after it. And all the buyers that you've been helping lately, there's no looky-loos, right?
No, haven't been.
They're either coming for jobs or coming for retirements.
Coming for a purpose, for sure. They're not just here to just, oh, I want to peruse around and see what's going on.
Exactly. If you're looking for more information about the real estate market and all things Northern Nevada, click the link in the description below about getting a free copy of our buyer's guide. It'll get you the information you need to start on your journey to then being able to better ask us questions about moving to Northern Nevada. To me, talking about 2024, I think part of the reason why the numbers were a little slow, for example, last year, 2023, was the lowest number of home sales nationally in like 30 years, and the population's like 100 million more people than it was 30 years ago. And this year, we're going to be above that, but not very much above that. So you've had 2 years of a low number of transactions, but you have not seen prices plummeting, falling. You had some, small price corrections. For example, my house, I can't sell it for as much as I could have maybe 2 years ago, but I'm pretty close, and not enough to all of a sudden make someone like yourself have it to be dramatically more affordable. Going into 2025, what do we think is going to happen going forward? And I'd love to hear what you think, just based upon having buyers in the car and from a perspective of someone whose friends are in their 20s and what you guys think of the real estate market versus someone like myself. I'll give my opinion in a minute, and people that are much older than me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for my age demographic of people, whether you are single or in a relationship, home prices are very high and in a lot of places unaffordable, depending on what it is that you're looking for. But I do think that there is a little bit of a mindset shift that for whatever reason, my generation and the one above me seem to have differently than yours did. Some of them don't seem to want a starter home. They don't want the kind of crappy little house that you have to kind of fix and put some elbow grease and some love into because it's what technically you can afford. Right. And they're used to a certain way of living because your generation wanted better than the generation before, and that's kind of the trend that starts to happen over time. But there are things that are affordable depending on kind of what your financial situation is. I think it's a little more daunting for people in our age category. We're looking at the real estate market going, well, if it gets better, that's a little worse for us because we can't compete with people of your age who have more money, you have more equity in homes. You have different ways that you can buy real estate, whereas us, we're just trying to scrounge up enough for a down payment.
Right. And I know in talking with that, like, people are down on maybe having roommates or living. Again, my first house when we bought 30 years ago, at the time, it felt like it was hard to afford what it was. But because of that, I didn't want an old house. I'm not a fix-it-up guy. We moved all the way out to the North Valleys, bought a home for $106,000, but it was brand new. But all my friends thought it was crazy because we lived out in an area there wasn't very many homes at the time. And those homes in that neighborhood now sell for $400,000. So the game of home ownership definitely is a good wealth building tool, especially for younger people as well. And I think they need to think about that. But I always look at it this way. You don't always have to buy real estate in the market you live. People talk about renting being a horrible thing. And I own rental property in the Midwest. And so for someone who, again, you need a much bigger down payment, but you might be able to afford a house with a partner or a friend or a parent. and get in the real estate investing game, even if it means you have to rent in the city that you live in. Looking at 2025, I see it being very similar to the way things are now. Prices are going to stay relatively flat. Everything I looked up had all different kind of predictive stats, were anywhere from flat pricing to a 3 or 4% increase, which is kind of a normal increase in pricing. So for someone who's waiting for that $400,000 house to turn into $250,000, I don't see that anywhere in the future.
No.
And interest rates, this has been the one. But if that house has $400,000 and rates go from 6.5 or 7 to 5.5 or 5, well, then that price is going to get more expensive as far as that goes. And so I don't know how much it's really going to help them in their monthly payment. It's going to be a really interesting thing, but I really think we're going to see a lot more of the same. As more data comes out, as more information comes out, obviously we'll provide it to you here. If you follow us on Instagram, we put a lot of the information just under my name, Brian Lessinger or Sydney Lessinger. We put a lot of that data that we get from certain companies that we provide them that information. And so inventory is not going to get dramatically more. The interest rate predictions, who knows? We played that game before.
Yeah.
And what economic drivers, like there are job growth here, there's things happening here. So we're not in an economy and in a market in our area, at least in Northern Nevada, that's going to dramatically have people flooding the market with inventory and leaving our area.
People, for whatever reason, in my age category, seem to also be waiting for the market to crash completely.
Right.
Which I don't know where they're getting that, not sure where it's coming from, but they're potentially hoping that the market will crash. So then all of a sudden, real estate will be magically affordable overnight. And I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
Well, and that's why I think if we can get some of the younger viewers to watch us on Instagram, because we provide a lot of specific real estate information, especially about Northern Nevada on our Instagram channel, it is definitely this weird thing out there that people are waiting for that market to crash because they want to refer to as foreclosure percentages are going up,
Right.
inventory levels are going up. And they are, when those numbers were basically nothing,
Right.
any increase is going to see those numbers coming up. The U.S. residential real estate market has faced criticism about all this unaffordability and our builders going to build stuff. And we'll see, maybe the government and having now at time shooting, we know Donald Trump's going to be the president for the next 4 years. Maybe the government will come up with some sort of programs. I know when they were talking before about giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 credit towards buying a home. One, I didn't know where the money was going to come from. But two, if I gave you $25,000 to buy a home in Northern Nevada, guess what that does for you?
Not nearly as much as you think.
Not enough to make it an affordable house payment.
Right.
Or enough to give you, I mean, maybe it gives you that down payment, but it's the monthly payment where people are really struggling with. We shall see.
People should also pay attention. It is market specific sometimes, where what's going on in Reno isn't what's happening on the East Coast or somewhere else.
Right.
So sometimes what we're telling you isn't a national thing. Sometimes what's going on here in Reno is different than potentially where you will be or trying to be.
And we talk to realtors all around the country through our
Yes.
coaching program we've been in for years and years and years. And so I have friends that live in the DC area, Florida, California, and anything that's on a coast. Those markets are completely different as you start to push your way towards the middle where affordability becomes more and more and more. It's part of why I own rental property in the Midwest. And as someone who does real estate here for a living, does property management, it would be really easy for me to buy property here. Sometimes it makes a whole lot more sense for me to do things in some other areas. So if you have questions about anything real estate related, reach out to us. Sydney and I are happy to answer any questions you have. So thanks for watching. If you're looking for more information about the things you would need to know about moving to Northern Nevada, what the expectations might be, check out this video we did right here that'll help you start along that process.